The judiciary plays a vital role in law enforcement and public policy in Texas. However, there are concerns about whether the system is effective at being fair while protecting the residents of Texas. In many respects, there is no part of state government that affects as many lives as the court system. Texas courts routinely process more than 10 million cases annually, and the vast majority of them involve traffic offenses in lower-level courts like the JP and municipal courts. The judiciary is also defined by elections, as there were several hotly contested Republican primaries for 3 seats on the Texas Supreme Court and 3 more seats on the Court of Criminal Appeals. In fact, no Republican candidate in 2016 received more votes than Justice Eva Guzman. She received 1.26 million votes in her race for place 9 on the Texas Supreme Court. She defeated Joe Poole, by the way, 59.2% to 40.8%. Here are some questions that we'll consider during this presentation on the Texas judiciary. We can think of the law as organized rules of conduct that are backed by the organizing force of the community. The system of common law dates back to the Middle Ages and focuses on the role of judges. Judges traveled to resolve disputes, and when presented with those cases, judges made decisions on the basis of their knowledge of the law, their own reasoning, and how the judge had decided similar cases in the past. Thus, the common law system is characterized by the accumulation of reasoning, and this was vital for 3 reasons. One is it provided consistency to rulings. People are deciding numerous cases and they're trying to use similar facts, then it provides consistent outcomes. It adapts knowledge of other cases to local circumstances. So judges talk, they read other decisions, and they try to apply that to what's going on in their cases. And then it also provides flexibility in interpreting the law over time, that things can change. Having a tradition of common law is vital even when relying on other sources of laws such as statutes, because there will always be gray areas or circumstances that were not anticipated, so judges have a framework for deciding cases that are based on previous cases. So there's a lot of flexibility in the legal system. The United States is a federal system, and every state, including Texas, must conform to the rules that are established in the United States Constitution, but that does not mean that challenges are impossible. Remember that the United States Constitution establishes the basic framework, but the specific application of various clauses are open to interpretation. For example, abortion rights, or the right to privacy, or capital punishment and cruel and unusual punishment. Besides the Constitution, the states must follow the laws Congress passes or regulations promulgated by the executive branch based on the power the Constitution provides those branches. There is room to challenge these decisions, as we have seen in Texas, as the state has led efforts to limit the effects of the Affordable Care Act, the regulation of carbon dioxide emissions under the Clean Air Act, and the deferred action for parents of for children of illegal immigrants in the United States that the Supreme Court heard today. There are a similar set of forces that play a role in Texas. So the state constitution is a source of laws and establishes certain rules. For example, the length of terms for a member of the legislature. So this would be a good time to go back and review some of those notes. When the state legislature passes a bill, it becomes known as statutory law. For example, SB 11 in 2015 allowed for campus carry in Texas. Another example in 2007 no longer required people to retreat when using deadly force in their home, car, or place of business, or any place where a reasonable person might expect to be. This is known as the Castle Doctrine. City ordinances also play a role. Remember what happened last year when the Houston Equal Rights Ordinance was created that would have banned discrimination on sexual orientation or gender identity. Even with all these sources of law, the common law system still plays a role in Texas because of stare decisis, where judges rely on decisions in past cases, so there are fewer inconsistencies in the law. Almost all of the legal action in the United States is decided in state and local courts and not the federal courts, so it is important to understand the basic structure of the system in Texas. Jurisdiction is simply a matter of who has the right to hear a particular case, but it falls into 2 different categories. Original jurisdiction means that a particular court has the ability to hear a case first. The most important aspect of original jurisdiction is establishing the facts of the case. This generally occurs through a trial, where the lawyers for each side will make arguments, call witnesses for testimony and cross-examination, and introduce evidence towards establishing guilt or innocence. Appellate jurisdiction means that a court does not hear a case first, and it mainly serves as a check on the system to ensure that the law was applied correctly. It is also important to distinguish between different types of cases. In a criminal case, the state of Texas, via the 254 counties, are charging an individual with violating a statute that has defined some act as illegal. For example, stealing or driving under the influence, assault. All those things were people are violating the law. The state is the plaintiff, and an individual accused of a crime is the defendant. The burden of proof in these cases is beyond a reasonable doubt because a conviction can lead to jail time. In a civil case, the matter is about obligations between people, and the state of Texas may be involved, for example, child support payments, or the dispute may be between individuals or corporations. These cases often involve negligence and are called torts. The burden of proof is lower, and jail time is not a possibility. In 1996 and 2003, Texas passed tort reforms significantly restricting the ability of inmates to file lawsuits, allowing judges to dismiss frivolous lawsuits, and capping jury awards for punitive damages, which are judgments in excess of the actual damages, and they are designed to punish the defendant. The legal system is complicated because there is a hierarchical system of courts, with many courts at the bottom of the pyramid that have original jurisdiction, and fewer courts as you go up the pyramid with appellate jurisdiction, although this process is a little bit messier in Texas. The nature of the legal system allows those who have been accused of a crime to appeal the decision of a court of original jurisdiction. It is part of a system of checks and balances that prevents any single court from having absolute authority. It also draws on the idea that the truth or the correct answer can be discovered with numerous sets of eyes. The purpose of the appeals process is ensuring that the law was correctly followed, and the appellate courts rely heavily on the record established in the courts of original jurisdiction. Should an appellate court find in favor of someone convicted of a crime, it does not mean that person is innocent. It simply means that the law was not applied correctly and the case is sent back for a new trial. Double jeopardy is not a problem because the person appealing the case is effectively waiving that right by filing an appeal. The trade-off in the system is that there are greater costs and potential for delay. So as people are affected by outcomes, they might be more willing to challenge them, and that makes things take longer.